Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to National Transfer Week. We will get started here shortly. We'll give folks a few minutes, watch the attendees and see as folks are trickling in. Feel free to grab something to take notes with. We have a lot of good information for everyone joining today between myself and the programs that Kalani has to offer as well. Well, means all right. We'll get right into it. My name is Jennifer Ash. I am Associate Director in our admissions office at Arizona State University. Today, we're going to talk about paying for college. It's a big investment. We have lots of resources to help students that are committed to completing and earning a bachelor's degree. So myself, along with Kalani, I'll let you introduce yourself, Kalani.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kalani Rice. I work with the Provost's office with the specific scholarship pathways for the future that I'll be talking about later today.
Perfect. So with that, we do have a Q&A feature. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see that Q&A with two little text bubbles. That's going to be the best way for me to field questions from you throughout the presentation. So feel free to jump in there with anything that comes up. And then I'll potentially use the chat as well to post links as we're going through some of the resources that we have today. But with that, you can see some of our agenda items. We'll be going over the cost of attendance, types of aid, financial aid process, funding resource, next steps you can expect. So feel free, this information could be applicable to you as a student, or if you work a lot with students as well. This is all good information to share as we're going through the application process. So with that, we'll get started with this slide. So you can see here what lifetime earnings are for students, depending on the level of education that they receive. Completing any kind of higher education degree, associate's, bachelor's, or a graduate degree significantly improves your lifetime earnings amount. So if you are just wondering if this will be worth your investment, this data right here kind of shows you, while the cost of attendance can seem a little bit overwhelming in the long run, in the bigger picture, it's definitely going to be worth it. So keep that in mind as you're maybe struggling with the cost of coming to the university. And we had a great question pop up. What's the average cost of aid? We're going to definitely get into all those details throughout the presentation. And actually, but before we jump into that, let's go through some terms that you probably are all familiar with. If you've attended college before, you have what you can see on the left are some direct costs that you would have to pay towards the institution, and these are all separated out at ESU. So you'll be billed for your tuition. There'll be fees depending on what major you're in. If you're planning to live on campus for housing, those will be directly billed to your student account. And then meal plans as well can be billed towards the university. But when you're talking about your overall total cost of attendance, we also, as an institution, take into consideration your travel and transportation. So you're going to have to buy gas to get to campus. You're paying for car insurance. If your car breaks down, we kind of calculate all that, average it out for the semester of the academic year and include that as well, along with personal expenses. So things incidentals that you'll need throughout the week. Like you're obviously going to have expenses outside of your books and supplies. So how are you going to pay for those? That's kind of all packaged into your total cost of attendance, and we factor that in when you're filling out your FAFSA and planning to attend ASU. So keep all of that in mind as we're going throughout this presentation. So you can see this slide shows your tuition estimator. So I'll put these links in the chat for so you can kind of, so you can play with this tool a little bit where you would put in your academic year that you're interested, that you're attending. So right now, currently available is the current academic year for fall 2022 and spring 2023. If you're interested in the costs for future terms, those actually aren't announced and decided upon by the university until spring of the preceding the fall semester. But on average, year to year, tuition costs are pretty similar. So if you're calculating based on this year, you can do that with the confidence that'll be similar to what it is next year. Obviously, tuition costs vary for in-state and out-of-state students. And then you would put in which campus you're interested in, or if you're interested in online, because there are some different costs depending on where you're studying and what you wanted and which campus you want to attend, if it's in person or online. So we have some great tuition benefit programs called the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program. So if you're a resident of this Western group of states that you can see highlighted in maroon here, you could potentially be eligible for a tuition discount program. WUI is what we call it for short. I'll put the link in the chat. Depending on what you want to study will determine if it's a WUI eligible degree. Not all programs are eligible for this tuition discount. Typically, it's programs not located at the Tempe campus. So it would be a lot of programs that we have at the Polytechnic campus, the West campus, and the downtown Phoenix campus. So depending on what you want to study, maybe you're interested in psychology. Like I said, at Tempe, that's not WUI eligible, but it is at the West campus. So you could potentially consider having your major at a different campus to take advantage of this discounted tuition rate, where instead of paying the full out-of-state tuition, you would pay 150% of what residents pay. So it's automatic placement in the program when we see you're a resident of this state and you've selected an appropriate degree program. So feel free to click on the link in the chat to learn more about it. And please follow up if you have any questions about it. So to jump into other types of aid that you have besides the WUI tuition discount, you can kind of see it outlined here. The best way to qualify for financial aid is through filling out the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the way that every institution across the country determines how the government or an institution can help you pay for college. So it's based on your family's income. So it does require tax information for a student and their parents if they're under the age of 25. The federal government considers students dependent upon their parents until they're over the age of 25, or they are married or typically they have their own dependents. So that's not a university regulation. It's really what we have to abide by because we receive assistance from FAFSA. So you want to get that in. It's a free application. You don't have to accept any of the aid if you don't want to, but you'll see the different types that you can get. Some of these grants, like the Pell Grant or the university grant we have, those will federal work study and then student loans and parent loans. are available for through the FAFSA. If you're just not interested in FAFSA, you've done it before, you don't think your family qualifies for anything, you would be available for private loans that you could apply for. There are some university scholarships that you could apply for that don't require it. And then student employment as well would be available if you wanted to get a job on campus, to use that as far as just like having a job off campus. So keep all of this in mind, because like I said, there's a big variety of how students combine all these different mediums to help pay for their education. So it looks like we have a bunch of questions in the chat. Let me see if we can address a few of these. It says, it's asking if financial aid can cover a residential life living on campus. Yeah, you can use university funding to help you through the FAFSA to help cover financial aid. So that's definitely another good reason to complete it. And then how does scholarship stacking work? So it depends on the type of aid that you're receiving. So you want to pay attention. Sorry. Some scholarships are tuition-based scholarships, which means, so if you qualify for more than one tuition-based scholarship, you would only be able to use one of them to apply them towards your tuition. That's going to cover your tuition amount. But any cash award scholarships that you get are stackable. So if you qualify, and we'll get to some of them at the end, some of the options, but maybe you applied for like a Coca-Cola scholarship or any other outside party, those could be stacked on top of each other. And then there is no limit to the amount of those ones that you would be able to qualify for. And then once you receive FAFSA, how long does it take to get a response and offer? So typically, I think we're going to get into that here in that next question. So good question. Oops, using the wrong button. So you may be familiar with this process already if you're filling out the FAFSA for your current institution. If you're at a community college or transferring from another university, it's the same process, it's the same FAFSA. You'd get your student aid report, and then ASU potentially has a verification process that you have to go through. So that will be on your My ASU portal, which I'll get into later, but essentially then once we go through that verification process, you'll receive about a month, usually in late spring or right about now for students starting in January is when you'll receive your award letter and the type of financial aid package that you qualify for. So there are recruitment staff available to help you decipher all that because it is a lot of information. So definitely feel free to reach out once you get your financial aid package if you have additional questions that come up about it. But to fill out the FAFSA, you do need to be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. You would have to add a college or institution that you're interested in attending, and you do need to be degree seeking student and maintain academic satisfactory progress. So essentially just working towards a bachelor's degree to make sure you're staying on track to applying the funds that you're using towards a degree. And then to complete the FAFSA, here's a list of the documents that you'll need. Like I said, your tax information from 2 prior years makes the process go a little bit quicker. And then you do need to have your FSA ID. It stays the same when you change institutions and transfer from another place, so you don't have to update that. It stays the same for you and your parents when you're filling out the FAFSA. So once you submit that application, your application to ASU, you'll get information on this My ASU account. So this will give you your On the home page, you'll get your application status and updates to where you're at in that process. But then there's also this finance tab up here. And this is going to give you all of your updates related to your financial aid and FAFSA and scholarship. So you can see this is where your charges will be. And then you'll also have any of those verification tasks will be under this financing task. And then once we receive your FAFSA, you'll go through this, you'll see this financial aid tracker that kind of gives you steps 1 through 6 on where you're at in the process. So for this example, you can see we received the FAFSA and then they went through verification. So right now, this student would just be waiting to receive a financial aid package. So continue to update. This website's updated in real time. So as soon as our office or our university, the financial aid office has been able to update your application, then you would be able to see that updated here as well. But we do have to, we do recommend applying to admissions first and then filling out your FAFSA so that because we cannot award you a financial aid package unless you've been admitted to the institution. So you want to keep that in mind. Some other good, this will also show your residency status. So you want to make sure, verify what that is based on the information you filled out on your admissions application. ASU has different residency criteria than the community colleges in the state. So you want to make sure that that lines up how you were expecting, because that will affect your cost of attendance. And then there are a lot of helpful links here. So that cost calculator and estimator that we went over earlier, there's a link here for it. A link to our scholarship database. We do have a payment plan option. So if you are looking to essentially be able to pay your tuition in chunks, that payment plan option will give you the ability to do that. So keep that in mind too. And then, so once you do get a financial aid package, you'll see it listed here. So you can see this is an example where a student qualified for the Pell Grant. They also got a university grant, and then they have loan options. These direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans were available for the student to accept. And then a lot of times students will also be offered direct parent plus loans, which their parents are eligible to apply, potentially qualify for up to the amount you see listed here. So it's not guaranteed for the parent, but so they do have to apply and qualify for it, whereas these subsidized and unsubsidized loans for other students are guaranteed amounts that they can take out if they're interested in that. So, and then we do split it up on, you can see this one here is just a spring award. So if you're starting in January, you'll just get a spring 2023 financial aid package. And then next year you would fill out next year's FAFSA. FAFSA is based on the academic year, and you'll get a package that's for the fall and the spring term. They'll give you a total package over the whole academic year. So keep all of that in mind too, and use that resource. So yeah, these ones, we went through all these boxes here as well too, so keep all those in mind. All right, so let's pause again for some questions. I see there's a lot coming through. So good question. How do you know if you're looking at the correct FAFSA application? So you can see up here for this example, all the different financial aid years that a student applied for. So you would just want to make sure that your academic year you plan to attend is the one for the financial aid package that you're matching up to. So we oftentimes right now we'll have students say, yes, I filled out the FAFSA, but they're filling it out for next academic year when they actually should be filling out the one for this current year that's been open. for about a year now. So you want to verify that here with this aid year. And go from there. We have another question about work study. This will be included in your financial aid package if you qualify for it. If you don't see it listed here and you're interested in it, it would just be an easy request to our financial aid office to receive federal work study funds. The way those work is students will apply through the ASU jobs site, student employment website. You can search for jobs that are only work study options, but that might be pretty limited. So honestly, it's good to just do a comprehensive search of all the jobs that are available. Then once you're hired, you can let your employer know that you're eligible for federal work study, and then they could potentially start the process to be able to pay you under those federal work study funds. So keep that in mind. Are there work study options for ASU students who have not completed undergrad? Yes, federal work study options are available for undergrad and graduate students as well too. And then again, if you are transferring for fall 2023, usually March or April is when you'll receive your FAFSA package, and we'll go from there. So this is the link. This is a screenshot of our scholarship portal. I'm going to put 2 links in the chat. One of them is just to the general scholarship database, where you'll see a couple hundred different options currently in there for students interested in researching scholarships. The second link applies a filter, and it will have scholarships specifically for transfer students. So this database that you see here on your screen is for outside entities that want to give to ASU students. There might be some criteria on the students, the type of student they want to give to, but I recommend going through this scholarship portal with less filters, because that'll give you a broader range of options, and then you can kind of scope through it that way. This is open to students who, and this is open to transfer, incoming, and continuing students. So I recommend checking this at least twice a month, if not weekly, because new scholarships are added regularly. And then we would be able to, and then you can use it as a continuing student as well too. We do have some, we do offer some New American University scholarships called the President's Provost and Dean's Award. Those are only eligible for incoming first-year students, so transfer students are not eligible for those. But anything else that qualifies in here for transfer students, they would be eligible for. So feel free to utilize this. This is a good resource to have. And then with that, I think I'll turn it over to Kalani for a minute to talk about her program.
Thank you, Jennifer. So as Jennifer stated, we do have our scholarship portal, and on the scholarship portal, there are many, many different scholarships, some of which are privately funded. I work for Pathways for the Future program, which is a privately funded scholarship. This program was created in conjunction with State Farm. And essentially it's there to assist students to further access. There's different ways that you can apply for this scholarship, but for those of you who are looking to transfer, this would be a really great opportunity because there's no parameters in terms of you being a first-year student. There are a couple parameters in terms of the types of colleges you're interested in going into, be it either business, WP Carey, or liberal arts and sciences, or Fulton Schools of Engineering and Technology. Those are the 3 colleges that we primarily work in. But I do have a flyer, so I'm going to post that in the chat as well. You can go to that flyer and get additional information, but also you can connect on the scholarship portal to find out more information about the scholarship. But just wanted to present it to this group for students, or for those of you who know students who might benefit greatly from this scholarship. I'm going to hand it back over to you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Perfect, good information. So let me see. Just typing one last question in the chat. And then we'll jump into some additional resources that we have. So as a state institution, we do take care of our Arizona residents in a multiple number of ways. There is a third party called Earn to Learn, which I would, if you're an Arizona resident, that is a scholarship financial literacy program, and a savings program where you would just save some dollars and then they would match and or exceed it for students interested in starting in fall 2023. So I highly recommend checking out Earn to Learn. And then we do have some resources for students regardless of immigration status. So I also put in a link to our Dream Zone at ASU. They would be able to provide more information on those. And then our Office of National Scholarship Advisement provides information on like fellowship, research funding, international study, postbaccalaureate studies. So check out that information as well. And then the list continues here on this slide too. So raise.me is another third-party entity that ASU partners with, where you could potentially earn micro scholarships for your funding when you indicate. It's actually available for many institutions across the country that you could create profiles for, and then when you transfer there, any scholarship dollars that you earned throughout your time at the community college would transfer to ASU. So you could get dollars for taking curriculum that's keeping you on track to completing a degree, visiting campus, working, volunteering, all that kind of extracurricular stuff could potentially earn you micro scholarships. So I recommend checking that out. And then AmeriCorps, Arizona Teachers Academy, and Next Generation Service Corps are all different organizations that work with various sectors that students may be interested in, whether it's education, public service, all that kind of stuff, to help students with their funding and tie it into the academic area that they're interested in. So some additional resources to consider for you. I would definitely, we've kind of gone through some of these websites already, but again, verify your residency once you apply to the university to make sure that information is correct. We do have some specific websites dedicated to learning more about the grants and the loan process. Students can also get loans from outside entities and then have those sent to ASU. But honestly, I always recommend the FAFSA because they do have the lowest interest rates available for students. And kind of we educate you on all of that and how to pay back and all that good stuff. So and then I would also recommend checking with, if you work, if you have check with your employer. A lot of times they will offer tuition benefits. We have some great partnerships with Starbucks and Uber, Adidas, to name a few. So if you may never know what your employer offers until you ask. And then any community organizations, businesses, any connections you have, just ask if they have scholarship dollars available, and how that process works. And so as we close out here, just a couple of days to finish up with. So Whether you're interested in applying for January start of classes here coming up pretty quick, or fall 2023, which would be August start of classes. I can't recommend spending more time on that scholarship search. Consider it like a part-time job that you're investing time in every week, and that will really pay off as a student. If you have, scholarships that you can add on top of your financial aid package as you're a student here. So keep that in mind. Definitely work on that FAFSA for fall 2023 if you haven't started it yet. I've included ASU school code there for you. And then update your resume and personal statement, that scholarship portal that I was sharing. A lot of those scholarships request those types of items. So write a very basic one that talks about you and what you've accomplished and what your goals are for the university. And then that way you have one solid essay that you could just tweak a little bit for each scholarship application, depending on what they're asking for, and use that so you're not writing a bunch of different essays throughout your time on that scholarship portal. So continue to look throughout that scholarship portal. I can't say it enough. I know I sound like a broken record, but then use your My Issue to track your FAFSA status. And then definitely follow up with us once you get your financial aid notification if you have questions. And then right before the semester starts, you'll be able to accept or decline awards, sign up for direct deposit through that My Issue account. That's going to be the fastest way you can receive any funds that you qualify for. And then your academic advisor is going to be a great resource for any additional funding that you may qualify for specific to your academic program. And again, we kind of talked about these. We do recommend right now the FAFSA is just currently open for next year. We recommend submitting it by January 1st, and then having all of your admissions and FAFSA paperwork taken care of by February 1st to ensure a smooth transition. So with that, I will close out with some additional contacts that you can stay connected with us. You all have an undergraduate admissions representative that's going to help you throughout the process. So I'll put the website on how you can find the contact information for your representative in there. And that's about all the slides I have for today. Thanks for joining us. Let's see what questions we have. Oh, good question. So we have this student who's planning to move to Arizona. So when you fill out your FAFSA, it'll ask you what your living situation will be while you're a current student. So you would put the information for when you're a student at ASU, you'll be on campus or living independently. So just fill out that to your best of your ability, and then you should get a financial aid package based on that information. There is also, we do know a lot of financial situations can change for students and families past the time of what their tax information indicated 2 years ago. So there's some ways to update that financial aid information as well too once you're in the process. And then last question is if there's any tuition discounts for children of military veterans. So the tuition is the same, but we do have a great resource in our Pat Tillman Veterans Center that can work you through any benefits that you're eligible, any military benefits that you're eligible to receive and use at an educational institution. So let me find that link and I'll put that in the chat here to close this out. All right, with that, again, thanks for joining. And that concludes our presentation. So feel free to grab all those links in the chat before we end the session here in a couple minutes. Thanks, everyone.